There is an agricultural system older than the pyramids of Egypt. 5 crops cultivated for 4,000 years, feeding civilizations across what is now the eastern United States. And their domesticated forms are extinct, not endangered, not rare. Extinct. You've been taught that agriculture came to North America from Mexico, that before corn arrived, the people here were simple hunter-gatherers, waiting for civilization to find them. This is a lie. One of these crops had more protein than corn. They fed cities larger than London, and their wild descendants are still growing in your backyard today. The truth is that indigenous peoples of eastern North America independently invented agriculture. They domesticated plants. They bred crops for larger seeds, easier harvests, and higher yields. They did this for 4,000 years, and then it was erased. In the 1930s, archaeologists in Kentucky and Arkansas found thousands of seeds preserved for over 2,000 years. Seeds too large and uniform to be wild. They dismissed them as weeds. By the 1980s, Bruce D. Smith at the Smithsonian proved otherwise. These were domesticated crops, bred for larger seeds, thinner coats, easier harvests. Same signatures that transformed wild grasses into wheat. 5 crops cultivated from at least 3,800 BCE. Erect knotweed, sumpweed, maygrass, little barley, goosefoot. You have never heard these names. That is not an accident. Picture the Mississippi River Valley 3,000 years ago. Villages lining fertile floodplains. Not endless monocultures, not industrial rows, but layered gardens, multiple species growing together, each ripening at a different time. Maygrass came first in early spring, when winter stores ran low. Its seeds could be roasted or ground into flour. Little barley followed, a grain domesticated here independently, long before Europeans arrived. Summer brought goosefoot, a North American cousin of quinoa. Its seeds were protein-rich, its leaves edible like spinach. Erect knotweed produced reliable bean-like seeds into fall. Sumpweed provided oil-rich seeds that stored through winter. This was not scattered foraging. It was seasonal, resilient agriculture. The evidence is measurable. Ancient seeds were significantly larger than their wild counterparts. Thinner coats, easier processing, clear markers of domestication. The same biological signatures seen in early wheat and corn. Indigenous farmers achieved this independently 4,000 years ago. By the year 1200, everything had changed. Corn rewrote the rules. For centuries, corn had been traveling north from Mexico. But around 900 CE, something shifted. New varieties appeared that could handle the North's shorter summers, and they spread everywhere. Corn was a powerhouse. It grew in huge amounts. It stored for months. It fed massive cities. Places like Cahokia. At its height, Cahokia packed in more people than London. The traditional crops didn't stand a chance, and it wasn't because they were worse. Goosefoot actually has more protein than corn when grown alone. The old crops were nutritious, reliable, but corn offered something different. Uniformity, predictability, scale. One crop across massive fields, one crop feeding an empire. In just 300 years, the Eastern agricultural complex collapsed. Farmers stopped selecting the best seeds. Without human attention, the plants reverted. Smaller seeds, tougher shells, lower yields, and the domesticated versions disappeared completely. Then the Europeans arrived. They saw wilderness, not farms. They couldn't recognize indigenous agriculture. No ploughed fields, no fences. The remaining crops were dismissed as weeds. Erect knotweed sprayed with herbicides. Goosefoot called pigweed. Sumpweed labelled an allergen. Little barley a nuisance. 4,000 years of farming knowledge treated as contamination. The contradiction is striking. In India, goosefoot thrives as bathua. In America, billions are spent to eliminate it. The issue is economic. Wild crops cannot be patented. Self-propagating plants do not create dependency. Modern agriculture rewards ownership and control. These crops offer resilience and independence. They were not abandoned because they failed. They were replaced because they could not be owned. In 2017, plant scientist Natalie Mueller did something nobody had done in 500 years. She grew them. At Cornell University and Washington University in St. Louis, she planted goosefoot and erect knotweed. No chemicals, no greenhouse tricks, just the plants. The yields matched modern corn farming. They beat quinoa. These crops worked. They always had. But Mueller's biggest discovery was not agricultural, it was cultural. Indigenous women told her the crops were not lost. They were sleeping, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be planted again. The wild descendants are still here. Lamb's quarters grows in your garden. In parking lot, cracks. The leaves are edible, more nutritious than spinach. The seeds cook like quinoa. Erect knotweed grows throughout the eastern United States. These plants are abundant. Learning to identify them takes minutes. Growing them takes almost no effort. 4,000 years of agriculture, 5 domesticated crops, erased not because they failed, but because they could not be owned. The domesticated forms are gone, extinct, but their wild ancestors remain, growing through cracks, surviving the spray, waiting in the soil. They are not lost, they are sleeping, and sleeping things can be awakened.